to A Well-Designed Business. My name is LuAnn University, and I'm so glad you found this podcast. Together with my husband Vince and our partner Bill, we have grown our company WindowWorks from the ground up. So I know and I understand the challenges you face in running your interior design business. I also know that your talent alone isn't enough to ensure your success. So on this podcast, we talk about strategies and practical steps to help you grow your business. But make no mistake about it, we have our share of fun here too, mixed in with those aha moments that I love so much. This isn't fluff. Nobody has time for that. Whether you are a new interior designer or a seasoned designer, I am here to help you create and to manage the kind of interior design firm that you dream of. It's straight talk and it's action. Are you ready? Let's get started. Hi, welcome to A Well-Designed Business. Today, my friend Jenny Slingerland is with us. Jenny is the owner and principal designer of Black Ink Interiors, a luxury residential interior design firm located in Arizona. Jenny and her team serve clients throughout the U.S. and the Bahamas. She is an award-winning designer who has been featured in the Wall Street Journal, Business of Home, and Lux Magazine. Jenny's husband, Ben, is the Chief Operating Officer of Black Ink Interiors. He left the corporate world in 2018 to join the team and oversee the back-end operations. Ben has an MBA in over 20 years of business experience, including land acquisition and development for a national home builder and procurement and human resources for Mars Incorporated. I've been friends with Jenny for 5.5 years. Since this podcast started. She now teaches Design for Construction 101 at LuAnn University, and it's crazy. She's just now joining us on the podcast after all these years. It's kind of weird. So I want to just say, let's get down to it. Let's hear Jenny and Ben talk all about the ups and downs of their business and why Jenny's class at LuAnn University is getting rave reviews from your colleagues. And the university starts again the week of October 25th. We are in registration right now as you speak. You can go to LuAnnUniversity.com. Okay, let's get to this conversation. Hi, Jenny. Hi, Ben. Thanks so much for joining me on A Well-Designed Business today.
Hi, Lou. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks so much. Hi, Lou.
So this is funny for me because how many times in the pre-air, I'm like, wait, you've never done a podcast before? Wait, I have to tell you how we do this? Like, this is crazy. How are we 5.5 years, Jenny, and you haven't been on the show yet?
I know. I was looking through my emails, and we were going to do a show November 2019. And then, I don't know, maybe the world, I don't know what happened, but here we are today. So this is amazing. Thank you.
I know. And of course, I'm so grateful that I know both of you. So, you guys have been to the Power Talk Friday tour in Las Vegas. And, that's where I got to meet Ben too. And of course, I think in that 2019 show, you were talking to me about your design build that you were doing. And then we were like, let's turn that into this thing, right?
That's exactly what
right.
happened. That's
yes.
right. We decided that whatever I was going to try to do on the side and just kind of tell you about on the show turned into my course with you on at LuAnn University.
Yes, because I remember thinking this is an awesome idea, but let's make it 20 times bigger.
Exactly. That's exactly what happened.
So cool. And the thing is that's interesting for me, we're going to run through what your team looks like. But when I think back to Las Vegas 2018, when you guys were at Power Talk Friday Tour, of course, first for the day, for the event, was just you. And then we got to meet Ben at dinner. But he wasn't in your business yet, right? Or was he just started in the business yet? To get me up to speed on how long, Ben has been in the business with you.
That's a great question. Ben, did you start spring of 2018?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
I think it was technically April of 2018.
Yeah. So just barely had just started with us. So.
Well, and you know what? That's totally, that jives now because my brain just went to you in the Power Talk Friday tour saying, our whole house is on this now. This has to work.
Yes, that's exactly. And my fear and anxiety was through the roof. And you guys calmed me down and we're like, we got this. And I left there just feeling so empowered after that Power Talk Friday tour because I needed to hear it at that time because it was a time when I was really nervous about what we had done. And in the summer months here, because I think our Power Talk Live coordinated with Las Vegas Market, which
Yes.
is usually end of July, beginning of August. And it is crickets here in Arizona in the summer. I mean, it's like 115, 120, like who wants to be here? And I was like, oh, my business is shriveled up and my husband is working with me. We're going to be on the streets next month. And it was, and it was just took everybody who was there. Nancy Ganzekaufer was there. You were there. Vin was there.
Eileen.
I'm trying to.
Yes, Eileen was there, and
there.
Stacy McKenna from My Doma Studio, right?
That's right. And it was just like this, I just needed that day and I needed that dinner and it was awesome. So thank you.
I remember that. I remember Vinny, you see, because what I remember, Vinny, I remember him talking to you through the day and because the whole Power Talk Friday is like, there's, so few of us in the room. It's almost like take turns practically on one-on-one coaching for the day, right?
Honestly. Yeah.
And I remember him talking to you through the day, different ideas and topics and subjects and brainstorming. And then I remember him saying to me after, like whether it was in between when we go back meet for dinner, if it was after, I remember he does this often. He'll give me his observations on the different people that are in the day. Yes. And I remember he said, Jenny's going to be just fine. And I just looked at him. I said, I know she is. He goes, but you can think back to when you were scared to death. And like he goes, it made me think back when, it was us beginning the business and all of a sudden I left my other side hustles and it was like, okay, we got to make this thing work, So I remember that.
Yep. And that was a very, stressful time for me when, the weight of that. I did not honestly realize the burden that is carried on the shoulders of the primary breadwinner. And to have had, we took him from Mars Corporation, like Twizzler, Snickers, all the, did I say Twizzler? Sorry.
We need to edit that.
Twix, Snickers, M&Ms, like he's got this great company that he's working for, great salary. And it's like, do you want to come work for me for like pennies on the dollar? Like that sounds like a great idea. And then just that weight that was on my shoulders all of a sudden. And I felt so bad because I never realized that that's what he had.
Yes.
Yeah. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, this is real. And we never had to live on the street. So we've made it through and I think we're going places, but man, I didn't know.
It's so true. And it's funny because so many of us start a business with, the help and support and benefit of a partner that keeps their regular business, right? Or keeps their regular job. But I've talked, especially through the Power Talk Friday tours, because that's when you really do get knee deep into somebody's business with them. But many of us that have done that, where it's like, I remember Jenny Madden did the same thing. It was like, okay, we took Greg on. And then there's been others through the years. And also it happens in other ways when, I've met designers too, where it's, I've just gotten divorced and this business that used to pay for, 2 or 3 fabulous vacations and maybe a school tuition a year now needs to pay the bills, the mortgage, and I still would like to take 2 vacations a year, right? So it is a different thing. And it's interesting that you say how whoever is the big breadwinner of the family, how if you're not that person, you can take it for granted. I would tell you that in my experience, what I've learned is, I don't have to worry about the bills anymore, right? WindowWorks is well established. The podcast hit the ground running, all of the things. But my aha was, oh, I've been a business owner for 38 years, blah, blah, blah. But when I separated LuAnn Inc. off, it was like, oh, and now you make all the decisions, not just the ones you're good at.
Right.
And it's like, that was a different thing for me. And that has informed a lot of, the conversations that I have and the coaching that I do. And, just like it was a different aha for you, Jenny, to be like, oh, wait, Ben, you've had this weight of our family on your shoulders every single night when you've gone to bed. Thanks, pal. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll tell you one thing, and I think it was maybe on your podcast where I heard it. But when we were going back and forth for about 6 months, do we do this? Do we not? And because my mind is literally like worst case scenario, the worst things are going to happen. Like, doomsday. And then one day I said, what is the worst thing that could happen? And it was like, oh, you just go get a job. Then you just would go get a job. Like, I literally for 6 months was picturing like living in horrific conditions on food stamps, like not good. And I was like, oh, you just call up your buddies and you get a job. That's it. That's the worst thing that could happen. And so it was like, at that point, I just felt like this calm and this peace of like, we can try this. We have saved. We've checked the bank. We know that we can do this for X amount of time. And I think it's worth trying to create a family business. Ben was traveling a lot.
Oh, and with the two
little
kids,
girls,
that's so tough.
I can't do it. Yeah. So that was kind of what when we came to that.
All right. So now we are 2.5 years in of him being in your business, and has it borne out what the theory on it should be? So I don't remember Vinny saying this exact words to you, but I could imagine him saying, look, if Ben is on the ball like the way you're describing, and then of course after he met him, this is only going to make the business stronger and better. This is not a fear. So that's the theory. Did it, come to fruition that way?
Ben, I'll let you take that.
I don't know. I have to defer to the boss on this to see what my performance review is. But yeah, I think so. And I think the primary reason for us was, as Jenny, the business was growing, it was, she was having to do everything, right? And then I think at the time, maybe we had one employee, maybe a contract employee. And I think just the recognition was that we needed to figure out a way to get her, focused on clients and removed to some degree, at least the hands-on portion of it, from kind of the back-end operations. So that was sort of just the high-level goal, and I think we've been able to do that. For the most part, Jenny's been able to really focus on the team, right, the design team, and on clients, and I've been able to just kind of run stuff in the background to make sure our finances is in order, to make sure that we're, hiring and staffing appropriately, taking care of payroll, logistics, kind of all the things that need to happen behind the scenes to keep the business running. And so I would say that, we obviously there's opportunities for improvement, but I think we're pretty pleased with how it's worked out so far.
Yeah. And Ben has his MBA. And so there's I don't think every husband in a business would have to have that. But for me, there's that comfort of knowing. And when he doesn't know, I'm like, why do you not know this? You have an MBA. So.
Google it, Ben. Don't tell me you don't know. So that sounds like a dream. Like everybody listening is like, oh, right? Like I get emails that they say to me, what do I do if I don't have a Vin man? Like you're the Ben man. Like that's the thing. It's like that person that is taking care of all of that so you can be out front working in your superpower. And look, Sarah Brennan has Christine. Christine functions like that a lot for her. Now, it's not exactly the same when you are married to each other because there is that little separation of you can definitely find that strong person that has your back and has your business's back. There's no question. But I think there is a tiny bit of a little separation that is sort of like, wait, is that really in the best interest, or are you trying to whatever? Like, that's totally not true. I can't see anybody at that high level functioning like that. But you know what I'm saying. It's not the same as just go to sleep, they handled it because I'm married to them or I'm related to them and we are in bed together in all the ways. Yeah. And my success is dependent upon, their success is dependent upon mine, right?
Right. Well, and for better and worse that we're together every day because there are times when we're at dinner and our girls are like, stop talking about work. You know what I mean?
So you got to break them of that right now.
Yep.
Now you got to break them of that. I'm telling you right now.
And you know what though? Sometimes we will stop and we'll say, well, let me explain what the situation is. And then, Ben's really good at leadership and like encouraging people to think. And it's like, what would you do in the situation if this was and so we try to engage them in the conversation because we want them to feel very much a part of it. Now they are employees. When we had our office, they would come and clean it, and I probably re-cleaned it every time or hired somebody, but they thought they were clean.
That's right.
But, so we say it's a family business and it's part of your business. And so you work for us. So let's talk about it. So we
Right.
do.
No, I agree. And that's why I was saying you got to cut that off right now, because you know what? It is a family business. You can't not talk about it. It's silly. And the thing is, and the only reason and I can see that you're already framing the conversation with them to include them in all the things. But, I think that it's an unrealistic expectation for a husband and wife or any two partners to live together, be in business together, and not have the conversation happen in all the times and all the places. And then when a kid says, hey, stop talking about this, it's dinner time, and you acquiesce, it sets up the expectation that it's not appropriate to talk about it at dinner. And it is. You know what I mean? Now, are you going to monopolize it 24/7 every single dinner if your kid's sitting there with tears coming down their eyes? I mean, okay, you got to make an adjustment, right? We don't right?
Yeah.
But to your point, like, I know that our kids just gleaned so much from the process of being in the conversations. And I love the way that you're challenging them to consider how would they handle something at their level, whatever level they can understand to the point of the problem. So, all day long, I love that.
Yeah. Well, that's great advice. And we to say to them, no, this is important, and you can listen and learn, so
and I'm literally, there is a balance, right? There is a moment where we are first parents, right? So I'm not saying we just run ramshot over them, but I'm also I'm in charge of this family. You're not 8-year-old or not in charge of this. You don't decide the topic of conversation. Sorry.
Yeah. Like, you guys get to pick the movies that I have to endure. So you're going to sit through this conversation.
That's it. And of course, if it's a heated conversation, then that really doesn't belong there. And I'm all about that, right? Because we have those where we're arguing as we're coming in the back door, and then we're like, oh, there's the little faces. Okay, we'll table this till they're all in bed.
I do need to be better at that, I will say.
So anyway, but constructive, how do we make a decision? How do we handle a client experience? How do we handle a customer service problem? These are all opportunities to teach our kids, not only in case one day they're entrepreneurs, but what they can expect as consumers. You know what I mean? My daughter, she understood, when somebody is our customer, we're responsible for their experience in our care. And I remember one time having a bad experience at a doctor's office, and we were waiting 45 minutes, an hour 15. And I finally was just like, I'm done. And she was embarrassed. Because it was her doctor's room. She goes, oh, we can't leave. And she was probably middle school age, just going to high school-ish. And she's like, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to explain to them that they have 10 minutes or we're out. And, and she was just like, I said, listen, I understand it's a doctor, but we're their customer. Would mommy ever do this to one of her customers, make an appointment, and then sit there on the other side of the door for an hour and 15 minutes?
Yeah.
No.
Right.
So anyway, we're down a tangent for sure. Okay. All right. So now you have Ben running the back end. I have to say this. You're like Sid. She's Shay and you're Sid, right?
That's it. Just not as wealthy. But
not yet. You're on your way.
Yeah.
Right.
We don't have our own TV show yet.
Not yet, but you're both adorable. You could. So, all right. So Ben is running back end. You have been able to be freed up to focus more on the design itself, the clients that you service, and your design team, right? This is where you're moving in your superpower. And I have to imagine that has impacted the quality of the projects, the quality of the clients, and the cohesiveness of your design team. Is that true, Jenny?
Yeah, definitely. And the one thing that we've added I think Erin started in December, is we added a team member. She's out of state. She's in Salt Lake City, Utah. And she's kind of, Ben, I'll let you take this and then I'll go back to the designer relationship, but kind of explain what Erin does, because I think that has helped us tremendously.
Yeah, Erin, her titles are, she's a client experience coordinator. And really that's our focus in bringing Erin on, was to help us improve sort of our overall client relations and having better communication, on the front end of a project and throughout the project, and then as we close it out, and to be able to keep in contact, right, with clients, former clients as well, and keep them warm in case they need additional help down the line. So we just really wanted to focus on that. But she's also taken on a really important role in terms of being able to, again, free up Jenny from some of the activities she was doing to, again, focus on current clients and networking for future clients. And Erin does a pretty deep dive vet with new client inquiries, where she will take some criteria that we set, and she'll take the phone call or take the email that comes in and go through it with that prospective client to make sure that it's a good fit for us, not only for us, but for them as the client. So that's been a real advantage to us as well. Jenny's a people pleaser, and really, every call that she would get from somebody that potentially needed our help, she would say yes to, right, whether it was a good fit for both parties or not. And so now we've learned a lot over the time to figure out that that's not always a good fit. So it's not always a good way to approach it. So Erin's really been instrumental in helping us sort of shift that mentality to say, we need to make sure that we're finding the right clients for us and that we're the right designer for that particular client as well. And so Erin's done a great job in that area.
And we've that. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, no, go ahead. Yeah.
I was just going to say we've been really blessed that as we've grown over these last few years, our clientele, the scope of the work, the budgets have increased. And so that's where I really struggled. I would literally have people call and be like, well, you're probably too, big to take us on just a small project like me. And then I'm like, well, no, now I have to take you because I have to prove to you that I am not too good for you, and that's where I would find myself in trouble. And, another thing we've been doing with the designers that has really helped is my communication with them is more clear. There are times, I think, as a business owner where you have staff and you're like, why aren't they doing it the way I want them to? It's like, oh, well, no one's ever showed them, right, that I want it this way. And I'll give you a perfect example. We'll sit down and this situation was not with any of my current employees, but we sat down with a client. We'd just been hired, and we sat down to sort of do a discovery meeting, talk about their styles and their preferences, colors, all the things. And we left the meeting, and I said, why don't you put together a design concept presentation that we can send to them, see if we're heading in the right direction, have it to me, in a few days, and we'll go over it. So she did it, and I sat down and I looked through it, and I was like, oh, were we at the same meeting?
Wow.
There was not one thing on there that I would have put in their home based on what we had talked about. And so what I started doing from then on out was, I'm going to take what I see the vision as. I'm going to go room by room. So however many rooms there are, and I'm going to pull at least one inspiration image, if it might be a fabric or a wallpaper or light. It might be, one thing that's just sort of this is the direction. And now they have the guide to be like, okay, do the selections I'm making fit with the vibe that she's kind of already created for me? Right. And then that has just helped save so much time, because they got down 3 days working on this. And I'm like, it's rubbish. We have to do it again, inside voice. But, it's helpful to them because they can't read my mind. And even though it's crystal clear what they're saying and what the design should be, I realize that I hear things differently, and what I expect and what I want is not maybe what somebody else heard or saw. And so by giving that clarity, it saved a lot of time, and it's just better for all of us. So, and we also let our designers really take the lead. I used to be bogged down with emails from all the clients. And now what we do, and this is something like Amber De La Garza, we hired her.
Love
and
Amber.
Yes, that she said, why don't you have your designer be in charge of all communication with that client? So what we did was we sent out an email, and now it's already in the welcome packet where it's like, okay, here's your team. Jenny is the principal designer. Your go-to point person designer is Carissa, or it's Taylor. And they are going to be your point of communication. They're going to send you your weekly emails. Don't worry, Jenny is definitely involved in this process, basically, but they are your go-to person. And it just lightened my load so much. And I didn't even think that was a thing, right? I didn't even why wouldn't that occur to me? I don't know. But as soon as she said it and we implemented it, it was like, yes, this is how it has to be. I can't keep track of 20 projects, every detail, every piece of hardware, every hinge, every baseboard for 20 projects when everybody's coming in at me. And we do the same with, the general contractor or the builder. We're like, hey, your point person is Taylor. And if you have a question, you go to her. If she doesn't know the answer, she'll come to me, but she will be responding.
So I love this. And the only thing, just devil's advocate on it. First of all, you know that Amber's been coaching me also for almost 2 years, for crying out loud. I think I don't think I'm curable.
Your work in progress.
Yeah, I said to her last month, I said, how do you show up every month and just like look at me again? I'm incurable for and you know what it is? What you have to just tell you what she finally said to me. She goes, I think that you don't realize how productive you are. So you think that there's something else to go there for. She said, LuAnn, like, stop. You know what I mean? Anyway, that's my own psychosis. But the thing is just playing devil's advocate on that for somebody listening, Jenny, who is thinking, oh, turn the communication over to my senior, whatever label everybody wants. Everybody calls them different things, for everything. Are there times when when you do that, you have to be prepared that they're going to say things, do things, and make mistakes. Like, that's part of the thing. When you empower somebody to do it, then they're not going to do it your way. They're not going to say it your way, and they are going to make mistakes. How has that been? Has that been, no, Lou, my people are well trained, and we really haven't had that much of an issue? Or, yes, here and there it happens, but how do you, because I know that you're a perfectionist. I know that, if you saw somebody word an email in a certain way, that you'd probably, see this? I know you. Yes. And by the way, I'm the same person. I'm like, that's not what we should have said.
I literally have read over their shoulder, and I'm like, no. And I'm like, get out of your chair. Watch. Get out of here. Let me do this.
Let go, don't let go. Let go, don't let go.
What I did in the beginning, and I'm very clear, when we're on like our Monday meeting, I will say to them, here's what you're going to say. Hey, happy Monday. Just wanted to let you know. And I kind of bullet point it. And then, but there have been times if it's a more difficult conversation, I'll say, prepare it. Send me the draft.
Yeah.
And then I will make some edits if needed. And then there have been times earlier on, I don't need to do it as much now, where I'd just be like, hey, just when you have it up, just let me know and I'll come, take a peek at it. But I feel comfortable now with what we've seen. But there's always things where, just a few weeks ago, something came up and Ben was like, oh, shoot, we probably shouldn't have said it like that. And then it's just Ben talks to her the next day and was like, hey, next time, let's not make a promise. It wasn't even necessarily that much of I think it had to do with like a delivery date of like, oh yeah, we're sure we can get it by that. And we're like,
we're not at all sure.
Like in this environment, you got to be careful.
There's no such thing as sure in COVID, right? We're just sure it's probably going to be late. That's what we're sure of.
That's it. So just little things like that where it's like, okay, that's just a conversation that he'll have with him. Like, hey guys, don't, let's not make any promises, especially now things are just getting pushed back. So let's keep it real, a realistic conversation. But no, it's been okay. But if I didn't trust them or if I didn't think that it would be okay, then I wouldn't have it. But it also would be a red flag to me of
that's a wrong fit of the employee.
You should be able to have this conversation.
Yeah, and I think the takeaway from it is that we don't just turn the keys over to the email conversation. You groom them. You start to talk to them about what's important in the email, and then you check a couple, and the next thing you know, you only have to check the really scary ones that you're not sure how they're going to land and all the things. And you're teaching somebody. Look, it's not rocket science, but it does we do need to be reminded of it as entrepreneurs that other people are capable of doing things. It's not just us that has a brain and are good at things, right?
Yeah. Ben's trying to get me to turn over my emails. And I'm like,
oh, Ben, like, I'll give you my emails.
I know.
Yeah.
I'll give you mine, Ben. You can have mine.
Free.
My emails are like a graveyard because I really don't care.
Hey, LuAnn, I just wanted to chime in. I think because there's the bigger picture, and I think you touched on it as well in terms of developing and helping others grow. Like Jen and I look at it and say, where do we want our team to be in down the road at some point, and where do our, staff members want to be. And we would love to be able to continue to develop and grow Carissa, Taylor, anybody else, Aaron, and anybody else that we have on the team in the future, to the point where if they, want to take on more responsibility in the business, take on a larger role, whatever that looks like, we want to be able to do that and help them achieve that. Obviously for our own, selfish reasons as well. Like as business owners, you want to retain your good employees and you want to provide opportunities for them to help your business grow. And so those are things that we focus on as well. It starts with things like giving them a little more leadership on a project, communicating with the client, but it continues to grow to the point where they can run a division if that's where you end up, right? Whatever it looks like. And that's really important to us, to make sure that our employees feel appreciated and that they have an opportunity to go somewhere, even though it's a small business. Like we still would love to invest in them.
I love it. Ben, in your previous career in Mars, was this really a main focus of your responsibility of leading teams and building them up, or is this just something that you're talented at? How does that look?
Yeah, my last role with Mars, with the Mars business unit, was Banfield Pet Hospital is the name of the business, and that was a specific role that I played in. I was sort of a consultant type role for operational leadership, and I would work with them on developing and helping them, from an HR and a leadership standpoint, develop their teams, hire and staff, bring the right folks in, and then obviously make sure that we're developing in a way that turns them into future leaders for the company.
You hit the jackpot with him, Jenny. Let me tell you.
I know.
Cute, good dad, great husband, and come on, he's perfectly suited to build your business out.
And he's doing such a phenomenal job. I told him the other night, I was like, this business would be nothing without you. I'd just still be scrambling. The way
you've made a lot of good choices, Jenny. I know, you and I have been friends for 5.5 years through this podcast. And you have come from literally being a one-woman show, running around in circles, probably saying yes to every single person that looked at you with doe eyes and said, "Can I have a pretty room too?" Right? Yes. All the way to this where we're talking about now. But I also want to just point out that all throughout the process of your business, you've been willing to invest in your business. Because I have to say, with the entrepreneurs that I work with a lot of times and the emails that I get from the different designers and so forth, there was a What Would Lou Do show maybe 2 or 3, well, probably by the time this airs, a month and a half or 2 ago, where ultimately the designer was saying, should I invest in my business? That was ultimately the final question. And it's like, you have to invest in your business.
You have to.
Yes.
You have to. Or
you have
or
done
you stay
that.
the same. Yeah, no, you have, or you just stay where you are. Because like you always say, you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
I don't know the things that Michelle Williams has been I didn't know, right? I didn't know the things that we could improve on that, or that Amber did. And that's why I just started with Rachel Bosick. We met earlier, middle of July in Charleston, South Carolina.
You went down to her?
Yes. Yeah, we went to, I went to Charleston. And then Ben, I forgot Katie's last name, who we just hired also. McFarland, yes. And so it's like, I'm always looking for improvement, and where they're very different. Amber was helping me with productivity. Michelle Williams was helping me with the business side and the financial side. And then Rachel is helping with the branding. And then Katie's going to help. And Ben, you can talk to what she's going to help us with, because, there's so much that we're not able to do right now working on the business, because we're so busy. No, did I say that wrong?
No,
working on the business and working in the business, right? Like,
yes,
we're swamped with client stuff right now, and I'm keeping my head above water barely. And I know there are things that need to change, and hiring, I think Katie is one of them. And even taking my business to the next level with Rachel, I think is going to be critical. But Ben, maybe tell what Katie's going to be doing for us, because I think there's probably a lot of people out there who are maybe in the same situation where it's like, okay, I have all these great ideas and I might even have like a roadmap, but I don't have the time to implement them.
Yeah, I think that's the key phrase there is, obviously we believe it's really important to make sure that you're servicing your clients and their needs, right? And so take priority over other things that come up, and we find ourselves pulling ourselves away from some of the foundational operational things that we'd like to implement in our business, and to make sure that our clients are getting what they need. But we know for future work and future clients, we need to have these processes and procedures buttoned up and in a better place. And so we are bringing Katie on. We'll engage in her in the next couple of months. I think we'll start with her in October, but she's going to help us implement some of the operational kind of procedures and processes that we have drawn up, but just haven't been able to implement. So I would agree, LuAnn, what Jenny, and I've supported her in this in every way I could, is like, whether it's going to your events or hiring, consultants, whatever it is to help us get better, we've not been afraid of doing that, and it's made a huge difference in our business.
Yeah. And I understand the fear of doing it, right? It's not like we're sitting here saying, what's the big deal? Why wouldn't you invest $25,000 in this or $10,000 in that or $14,000, whatever it is,
right?
Whether it's $2,000 or $35,000. But I do know that you do need to know what you don't know. You just do, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, very good. And so, and I also want to spend some time talking about this amazing course that you created. Jenny, this is remarkable. I mean, I really want to toot your horn on it, because we've probably had 70, 80 designers go through your Design Build 101, and the rave reviews that the designers talk about. And this is the part that I want to share. It is the content. There's no question. The content is killer, but it's you too. It is, there's where, the Jenny that wants to help everybody is a positive, right? That's like, you know what I mean? Because that comes through in your teaching, and I get the texts and the emails like, oh my goodness, Jenny's so helpful, all the things. And I do want to take a minute. Kat has schooled me a couple times that we should probably not be calling it Design Build.
Yeah. We're going to call it Design for Build 101.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even know that. Oh,
no,
okay.
I walked through you one day and you're like, I love it. And now
I forgot. We better tell Nicole Heimer. I don't think anybody knows but you and me now. Okay, Design for Build, right? Because
Design for Build.
Well, here's, Kat, she does Design for Build 201. Yeah. And of course, she's got her, master's in architecture. And she just said to me, she goes, Lou, not for nothing, but Design Build is a thing. And it's not what we're doing. Yeah. We're teaching design for construction, for building. We're not actually a design build. And so
she called me too. And I'm like, oh, Kat, calm down.
Well, you see, my brain always goes to, oh, this is fine for all of us here, but what happens in 3 years when there's 3,000 people going through this? We have to be right. You know what I'm saying?
No, and it's so true, and she's right. And I took her class 201 and loved it. She is an amazing designer, and I went to High Point and saw her collection with
Eleanor
Dover
collection. Yes,
was so great. So proud of her.
I know. Yes. Candle Dover, and like we're going to do a thing at this High Point at the showroom. Yeah.
Perfect.
So very exciting. So
yeah.
So tell us, the goal of the Design for Build 101 course. What is because a lot of people ask me, you tell us in your words.
So my purpose in doing this was I want there to be another revenue stream for designers, because I feel like there is so much building happening right now. There is so much remodel happening right now. And if you're a designer who is used to like designing and furnishing a dining room and a family room, it's like, that's awesome. But if you can get in that door when it's just being built or it's start of the remodel, you're already in the door for the entire furniture package, because nobody wants to move into their brand new house with their 30-year-old furniture. Do you know what it's if you can get in the door early, you have that automatic in. The job is yours to lose. Like if you screw up on the build and the remodel, they're not going to hire you to do the furnishings. But if you can deliver and give them what they need, you will be hired to go on. And that's one thing that I always say are the things that you're going to be doing for the build easily segues into your furniture package. And here's how I say that. I say, let's, for example, one of the first things you're going to need to know is, where do you need those electrical outlets placed? In the family room, in the office? Where are you going to need something? Because once they pour that foundation, it's going to be a lot of money for them to jackhammer out the concrete to run that wire that you should have had placed before it poured. And then you say, now let's lay out your furniture so we can make sure that that's the right location, right? And so now we're already talking about furniture. And now you say, and we offer furniture designs as well, and packages that we can talk about, a little bit later in the process. But keep that in mind, because we want to make sure that when we're designing your dining room, if you have grandma's hutch from the 1800s or whatever, we want to make sure that there is a wall in your dining room that is going to hold all of grandma's china and her beautiful antique hutch, because this is a custom house. We are building new, or we are remodeling. So we might as well build that perfect wall that's the right size. Because what happens if we aren't thinking about the furniture? You build your dining room with too many niches or this or that or windows and doors, and you don't think about grandma's hutch. Where are you going to put it now, right? And so you are getting in on that conversation. Oh, she really knows what she's talking about. Oh, yeah, we should be thinking about the furniture layout. Do we want 2 sofas or a sectional? Like, do we want lamps? Like, you're thinking about it, and it's just sort of passive. It's like, and we do this, and here's why it's important to think about the furniture now in these situations. Would you like us to put some, quickly just put some furniture in the bedroom so that you can see how it scales out? Because I'll tell you, we have clients who look at a floor plan and they're like, they can't tell if the master bedroom is the size of a postage stamp or the White House, right? Like, they can't tell even one room. It's like, as soon as you put a bed in the nightstands, it's like, oh, well, that's way too small. Or they see it's huge. But you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
It's like, it's such an easy way. So not only are we going to get the revenue from a full furniture package, not a 1-room, 2-room, they're going to bring their IKEA stuff for the kids, but, we want to do all the the other rooms that people are going to see. And then we'll get to the kids' rooms. And it's like, that's fine. But you have that in. And I honestly almost cry when I read the reviews and when I get like DMs or text messages from the people in class, because I'm like, this is honestly actually making a difference in their lives. And there is nothing greater to me than, even if somebody gets one job or one positive, response from a builder. And if you follow in the course, the homework is set up so that if you follow and do the homework, by the end of our course, you have a spec book to take into a builder, whether you have a project you're working on or not. Because we can get floor plans off of the internet. We're going to build a finish schedule. We're going to have you get with, if you don't know CAD, you're going to find somebody who can do CAD that you can contract with. You're going to have elevations, and you're going to be able to go into a builder, sit down and say, this is what my spec book looks like.
I love it.
What a difference that makes when you go to pitch yourself to a builder, right? And I had to do that here when we moved here. We knew no one, and it was cold calls and knocking on doors. Can I sit down with you? Can I have 5 minutes of your time? And it took a while. It really did. And once we got there, and now, it's just word of mouth. And it's like, oh, she's great to work with, and she's organized. And I'm thinking of, and I think you probably saw the review, but that Ariane
Belazar, right?
She reached out and she said, I turned in my spec book to a builder. He said, I'm using you on every job from here on out. And then he said he got phone calls from the vendors that were supplying the materials for his job. And they said, you hire her for every job.
That's right.
And
I
I
know.
was just like, I was dying.
It was amazing because she got the job because she said to both of us, she said she texted us, reached out to us separately, but said, I know, she told me, I know I got the job from the things I learned in the course and the confidence that I was presenting a really good quality build book, right? Yeah. And then she said, when I was in the work and doing the work, that's when she said each of his trades and subs were like, if you don't use that designer every time, you need your head examined, because she's amazing to work with. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because it's all about the organization. And if you can make it easy for the plumber, the electrician, the tile installer, then you're making life easier for the GC and the builder. And if you can do that, like slam dunk, like you're on every project.
And just so I know it, and I don't know how many of our colleagues know it, but you cut your teeth working for spec builders, right? Is that the case? Yeah.
I worked for a home. I worked or very early on, back in early 2000s, I worked for two custom home builders. So it's all I actually knew was the build
custom home
side.
builders.
Custom
Okay.
homes, yeah. And then when I took about, I don't know, Ben, how long, to 8, 10 years off to raise my girls while we were moving around the country for Ben. Then when we landed here, I was like, okay, we're going to try this. Lily had just started full-time kindergarten. I'm like, okay, we're going to do this. And I did. Those were my first projects. We're doing spec books for builders because they're probably like, I'm not going to trust you with a client when I don't know who you are. But yeah, help me out with this spec, And I know I worked for peanuts on it. I can tell you that on real tight timelines, about killed myself, but I knew that I had to do it because I knew that it was going to mean if I got the next job with them.
Right.
And so you just muscle through. And I'll tell you, half of our class is just, do not do this. Do not do this. Let me tell you a story about this. Let me tell you why.
Right. What not to do.
It like this. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. It has been a whirlwind of knowledge, you know?
Yes.
And even with my experience, you learn every day. And so this course is really for people who have no experience in a build or remodel. It's for the person who's maybe helped their mom or grandma with a kitchen and a bathroom, but want to do whole homes. Or it's for someone who has experience and just isn't sure about the documentation that's needed. One of the designers had done hotels I think it was in the Dominican Republic or somewhere amazing. And I think she was kind of struggling with, how do I get this information to them? She took the course and she was like, oh my gosh, yes, this is what they need. And now I have,
right?
Yeah, and now I have another project and we're going to do all of these suites and all of this. And I was just like, yes, that's it. It's knowing what the builder's expectation is and delivering the information in an organized, buttoned up manner.
Yeah,
so,
it's so awesome. Yeah. I love it. And now your business, the mix of your current projects in your business is 8 custom new builds that range between 2 and 5 million, and 4 remodels that are entire homes only, and then 8 also entire homes only of furnishings and styling that you're doing. And this is your current project list happening right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, with 3 designers, you and two. Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, and it's a lot.
Well, and that's why I bring out what the full pipeline is in real time, because you cannot manage that amount of detail if you are not approaching it with a very organized, here's the book for this job, here's the book for this job, here's the book for this job. Because just having the book doesn't, you still have to fill the darn book with all the things and answer all the questions.
Yeah. And I have talked to builders, I think it was only one, but who sent like a Pinterest picture and was like, this is what I want. He's like, well, that's wonderful, but what's the tile? Where do I get the tile? What's the size of the tile? What's the grout? It was literally a picture, like an inspiration photo. And it's like, I've heard of designers who will send like in an email, it's like, this is the tile, here's the link, this is the tile, here's the link. What happens if you miss that email, or if you don't need to order it for 3 months? Who's going to take the time to find that email? So they're just going to call you and say, well, what's the tile? And she's going to say, well, I emailed you 3 months ago. It's just not good. And so if you can make their life easier, they will hire you again and again and again.
That's so true, because I notice it with window treatments. We'll, get a request for, could you bid these window treatments? And 99% of the time we're going to go to you, meet you, and walk through the project. But, there's that percentage of time that somebody will say, here's all the information you need, ballpark it for me or estimate it for me, and I'm going to go get my client approval. And it's like, is it really all the information I need, though? No.
Right.
No, what you did was, you told me that you have 5 windows in this house, but you didn't tell me the height of any of the windows, and you told me you wanted drapes, but are they operating drapes? Is there lining? Is there no lining? It's really what I love about what you do with the Design for Build 101 course is that, to what you just said, you are teaching your colleagues what the builder needs in the way he needs it to do his or her job, as opposed to what in your mind you think, well, that's all the information, because it almost never is all the information.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So good. So good. I love it. All right. So I guess, world domination is like what's next, right? I mean,
you know what, Lou? I have to say, I think that probably was my goal a while ago. But I will tell you, we just moved our studio from North Scottsdale back to home because I think COVID taught me I need to be with my girls more. My 13-year-old, if I had signed another 3-year lease, that would have been, she would be a senior in high school. And then out the door, I was like, no, Mama's bringing this home. It was a 45-minute drive each way. I felt like I needed it to sort of say, hey, I've arrived. And maybe I did need that. And whether it was Evo or whatever it was, I did love having it. I loved that we had our vendors there and it was a beautiful studio and I loved it. But COVID, I just was like, no, and I always knew family first, there's a saying like no success outside the home can make up for failure inside the home.
Oh yeah,
and
I'm with you
like,
on that.
I don't want to have the regret of I didn't have the relationship I should have with my daughter because I thought it was more important to have a studio. So as soon as our lease was up, we were out of there. And it's, that's why I'm just going to keep my team small. This is where I want. I'm happy. We've already found an amazing gentleman here in the Arizona, in the Phoenix area to do CAD. So he's going to do all our CAD work so that my designers can spend their time doing the designs. And so, yeah, go ahead.
So do the designers come to your office now or everybody is working remotely? I mean, your office, your home, they come to your home?
Yep, they come to my home. So we turned the guest room into our sample room. It is just lined with bookshelves and samples everywhere. It's really a great space. And then I had my office, which already had 3 desks in it. And so we have the space. Ben got kicked out by our 13-year-old. He's in the loft. So his office got commandeered by our 13-year-old, who I think secretly runs this household. But
your future CEO.
Yes. And so we are having a make it work moment. We are trying to build a home that will have dedicated office space and warehouse space. But everything's so nuts here in Arizona. We've been waiting, Ben, I don't even know, 8 months for somebody to make a move on this land and they still don't have permits. So
yeah.
Interesting. You know what? Sandra Funk had the same thing. As soon as COVID, she rolled it all the way back up. I mean, a lot of people have, changed their priorities or just changed the way they do it. It doesn't mean that you can't be a good mom and dad and have a place of business outside your home. But to your point, you were 45 minutes away. That's challenging, right?
Yes.
I mean, I have to tell you, Vinny, literally every house we've ever owned, he has literally always said it cannot be more than an 8-minute drive from WindowWorks.
Love that.
Like he always did that. He was like, I am not spending time in traffic. When my kid has a softball game, I want to be able to go from WindowWorks to, a home game in 8 minutes. If it's an away game, different. But the point is, you're 45 minutes away, and now maybe one of their sporting events or activities is another 45 minutes in the other direction further. So yeah, and that was the way we were always able to manage such an intense work environment, but also a very, hands-on approach to raising the kids because it was close. And WindowWorks a different type of business, right? We've got trucks and installers and all those things. Could never work that out of our house. Our neighbors would have shot us. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But being 8 minutes away was, and I there's times when literally when we were looking for one house, and I would go and look with the realtor or whatever, and then I would, because he's the kind of guy that he won't buy the house if he doesn't like it the way it looks from the outside, period. Like, that's it. He has to get a vibe from the outside, and he'll pull up and he'll be like, don't like it. And I'm like, but it's so amazing inside. I don't like the outside. I can't. Or the driveway steep or any of these crazy VIN things, right? And so this one time I'm driving and I'm bringing him to show him the house. And all of a sudden he goes, we just hit 8 minutes. I'm like, it's not that much further. And he's like, you didn't hear me. We just hit 8 minutes. I'm like, wait,
wow,
we're dead serious with this stuff? And it was like a 60-minute ride. He's like, I'm not even going in. He's like, they could give it to us for free. Like, it's not happening. And there's been a lot of things like that. over the years that in the moment I've, you know me, I'm like losing my mind, going crazy, blah, blah, blah. But then like, a week, a month, a year, 10 years later, I'm like, he was so right about that.
Yeah. Yep. That's how I am with Ben. I'll throw a tantrum and then I'm like, dang it, he was right.
Yes.
And then I go back, tail between the legs. Sorry.
Exactly.
Yep.
So
Yep.
I think it's amazing what you guys have created. And I just love the way that you're doing it with the intention behind it and willing to, we say, make the investment in our business. But what it is at the time, it can feel like risk. It can feel scary. And what's interesting, I wonder, like Ben said from the beginning, even when I wasn't in the business, I encouraged you, Jenny, to do those things, to invest in the coaches and the experiences and things that would level up your business. Was there a moment, were there times when, Ben, you'd be like, Jenny, this is good, go do it? Or was it like, I want to do this, and you just said that, yes, that sounds like good? Like, was there fear there sometimes for Jenny to make the investment?
Yeah, I think so. Especially before the business, had really taken off. It was like, okay, where are we going to get this money from, right? Can we really do this? Can we afford it? But she would always ask my opinion, and I knew if she brought it to me, that means she's studied it and she's wanting to do it, but she needs maybe a little push to actually take the leap, right? And so that's usually how it works. Like if she thought enough about it to bring it to my attention, it means she really wants to do it. So I usually knew in those moments I would just say, go for it, and ultimately, because I could see that she saw value there, and that would help her grow, as a leader or entrepreneur or whatever it was, would be valuable for her as she was on this journey.
Well, and LuAnn, look at the timing of like the Power Talk Live Las Vegas 2018, like 4 months after Ben joined us. I was like, I don't know, Ben. And I remember like, do I go? Do I not go? Do I go? Do I not go? It's hotel, it's airfare, and it's the day with you guys. And I was like, I'm just going to do it. And I did it. And what a difference that made, and what, worth every cent, that for the knowledge and the confidence that I got from that one day. Totally worth it. And I think at the end of every experience that we've invested in, I think Ben's right. You need to study it, make sure you think it's going to be a good fit. But then once you do, like, I've never invested in something that at the end I have said, I wish I hadn't have done that.
Well, and it's funny because I wonder if you're like, Vin and I process it like this. If I come away with one good idea, I spent my time and my money well. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes you might come away with 10, and you might come away with 10 ideas and 3 colleagues that become your besties and can really get you through everything thick and thin and help you move your business, or one contact that, leads to another contact that opens a door that you never would have had access to. All of that. But our criteria is one good idea that I got because I did that, because I didn't stay in my box, in my desk, at my office, and didn't take the risk to go out and expand my brain, my mind, my business,
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
Well, and I think another really important factor for Jenny, and this is one of the reasons why I also would support these, is sometimes you just need to get away from your business, right? And you need to go talk to somebody else and to think and, get out of the day-to-day aspect of your business. Give yourself some time, right, to just look at something in a different perspective, talk to somebody else who's in a similar boat. And so I think that's been really valuable too for Jenny, just to step away and take some time.
So the friendships that were made at LuAnn Live, that in New Jersey on that first year, and also the online was awesome too, the virtual, but like I am still friends with and regularly text, call people that I met there, because there's that connection of like, you understand. And there's nobody where I, maybe in my circle of friends in my neighborhood or, whatever that might look like, but you understand. And now I don't feel as alone, and let's work through this together.
Well, and that's the truth, because, we do run our businesses, sort of in a silo, right?
Totally.
And so just being able to be with other people, and sometimes it's the joy of being able to look at somebody and saying, I was there a year or two ago. Go ahead. It's a good, you'll be glad you did it. And sometimes it's the courage courage that somebody says, that happened to me 2 years ago. I did it. You can do it too, right? It's so funny because you guys all know I went through hip surgery, right? And I went to PT yesterday, and they're saying to me, I hadn't been in a month, and they're like, literally, she looks at me, she goes, how you doing? I'm like, there should be a support group for people who had hip replacement. And she's like, what are you talking about? I said, I just need to know what's normal, what's not normal. Is this, it's like you just want to know. Like, I can endure anything if I know it's normal, right? So it's like if I'm building a business and it's like it's normal to feel nervous about making an investment, or it's normal to be a little scared when I want to bring on an employee, when I absolutely know I need an employee, then I'm okay. But it's like, is anybody else going through this? You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So,
Yes, no, and it's totally true. And where we are now, might look great on Instagram and whatever, but I am telling you, the road to get where we are now was holy.
I know.
Like, bleep it out, because it was not fun, and a lot of ups and downs. After every single client that we have, we change our contract because there's some way that somebody, it's like, oh, well, it's not in there clearly enough.
That's right.
Or whatever it is. But
you grow and you learn. You grow and you learn. Yep.
There's been a lot of growth. Jeez.
Yeah. But I've watched you. You know what? I mean, just it's funny. Just even the outside view. Even I'm going to tell you what. Even in the conversation with the two of you today, in contrast to the conversation in 2019, and then to the 2018 conversation at Vegas, it is so clear how far you guys have come and how in sync you are, and you've got your goals mapped down, and you really are just intentionally checking off every little aspect of the business, from working with Amber De La Garza and getting the productivity, then working with Michelle Williams and getting the finances under control. It's like literally each step I can see. And now I'm be curious in the next 6 or 8 months to watch the effect that Rachel Bosick has on your business, right? Because I can see the differences and hear it in your conversation and in the way you just are talking about your business. I can see the effect that these professionals have had on you. And it's really, and of course, the effect that Ben has brought into the business is amazing.
Yeah, it's been good. But for the people out there who are where I was, 4 years ago, battle through. It's worth it and it's awesome. But it's like, and that's why with the Design 101, Design for Build 101, it's like, let me help you get there. Let me take away some of the bumps in the road, because I think your podcast does that as well. It's like, learn from people's mistakes and don't do it and take the easier path, and I truly want people to be happy and love their business, but it's hard. It is, a lot of tears, a lot of breakdowns, not wanting to get out of bed some days where it's just overwhelming, or a client, there's just so much that comes with this business and that's put on our shoulders. And sometimes that's put on there by other people. Sometimes we put it on ourselves, right?
Yeah, no, it's true. It is the combination of the stories we tell ourselves in our head that aren't true, and then the real life things that happen with the crazy pants people out there. Let's be serious.
And I'm telling you, vet your clients. If you get a red flag and the hair stands up on the back of your neck, say no. It doesn't matter who they know or who they think they're going to be able to, introduce you to. I promise you that will be your worst project. It always has been for us. And so just, stay the course.
Listening to your inner voice. Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, you guys are amazing. I just love spending time with you. I think it's terrific. And I am so grateful that you have brought your expertise to LuAnn University, Jenny and Ben, the two of you. I know that you have your hand in there too, Ben, for sure. And it's just awesome. And thank you. Thank you for showing up and for doing this with me today.
Thank you so much, Lou. And thank you for your amazing podcast that really helped me get through a lot in those very trying years. So I appreciate that very much.
Yes, thanks, Lou. And appreciate, obviously, all the support you've given us, and especially Jenny, over the years.
Yeah.
Thank you. Have you ever experienced that same feeling Jenny talked about? feeling like you have an overwhelming weight on your shoulders, that it's all up to you to make it or break it, and you're not sure if you can take it. I know I have felt this. I've talked about it on the show. And I also know that in the moment, it can be scary and almost debilitating. But I also know it's good for you. Good for you, you ask? Suffering under unprecedented pressure, not knowing if you'll be able to pay the bills, worried that the next project won't come in. How is this good for you? Well, it is like any other moment of true growth. It's a moment of friction, a moment we would rather not endure, right? It's a moment, though, that gets us so much closer to our greatness, to being our best selves, to achieving our best life. Growth is tough, and sometimes it feels downright ugly. Jenny has felt it. I've felt it. You've probably felt it. But the good news is the hard things get easier to navigate as you go through them and you've experienced the success of them. Right? It's just like we always talk about here, me, about running, right? It's not the first mile you ever ran, but it's the 500th mile that you ran. That's the one. Once you get through it and you've done it, you know how to lace your shoes. You know what kind of shoes will give you blisters. You know what kind of hair tie is going to fall out at the halfway mark, right? Because you've been through the pain of those things happening. We build a big store of knowledge and a lot of resilience when we repeatedly show up and do the hard things. And look at Jenny then and now. Hard times, scary times, and the discomfort of pushing through them has served her well. She has achieved remarkable things, and one of those marks of achievement is knowing when it's time to acknowledge that you can't get there all by yourself, that you need help. This is a good thing, right? You heard Jenny say that when she thought about joining me all the way back in 2018 for the Power Talk Friday tour, the one-day event, that it was a big deal for her. She said that she had to be careful about what her business invested in, but she ultimately decided to do it, and it made a huge difference in her business, okay? She realized that she couldn't wear all the hats in the business. This is one of the things that came from that. Another thing that came from that was obviously tactical strategies, right? Because that's what we do in the Power Talk Friday tour. We talk with you about your specific business and tactical strategies. But also what comes from that is the understanding and the depth of experience of the colleagues in the room with you, whether it's me, my husband, the Power Talk Friday experts, or your peers. And what you learn is that when you consistently push yourself out of the box that you're in, whether it's hard or harder to do, it's never easy. It's not whether it's hard or easy. It's whether it's this hard or really hard. The benefits come to you as a business owner, to you as a person, to you as a leader, okay? And, what I love is that she didn't stop with the Power Talk Friday tour. She went and got even more help, all right? They used Amber de la Garza, the productivity coach. They went to a branding specialist. They went to a financial pro and an operational process guru. They reached out to all the professionals around them to fill in the gaps. Okay. And every piece of advice and help that she and Ben received helped soften the growing pains and allowed them to, one, envision, and two, to build the business that they wanted. All right. And now this is what Jenny hopes to do for you if you come to her Design for Construction class at LuAnn University. She wants to soften the tough times and to ensure that you bypass the painful mistakes that she has made so you can build the business that you want. All right. Of course, you'll have your own variety of interesting situations that will build your resilience, but you don't have to start from square one. You don't have to do it by yourself. Okay. And you don't have to do all of your admin stuff by yourself either. You know that I recommend My Doma Studio for you. And My Doma Studio is the place where you can learn to figure out how to manage your projects, professionally and efficiently, productively, so that they're profitable. All right. Go to mydomastudio.com/a well-designed business. Okay. Scroll down to the designer testimonials. Right. And while you're there, because you're a listener of the podcast, you can get 20% off My Doma for the first 3 months. All right. Now, How about this part of the conversation about Jenny and Ben giving up their studio? Big thing, right? But this is the thing. It is a perfect example of you do you. What is right for one person isn't right for another one. And the other thing is, what was right for you at one time in your business doesn't need to be right for you in all the times of your business. Okay. And another thing that I love about their move to their home is that she said what she wanted, a great studio in a great location. But when she realized that wasn't right for her anymore, right, she just allowed herself to shift. Just like I said, what's right for you at one moment doesn't have to be right for you forever. All right. She didn't hold on to the studio for the status or because that's the dream that she had in the beginning. She just acknowledged it's okay to change and to want different things as long as you're doing them from an informed place. Right. And I think we tend to think that each decision will be our last, that our big dreams won't iterate, but it's not true. It's not how business works. It's not how life works. We can pivot. We can change our mind. Okay. So, and I love the attitude of let's try this. All right. This can be so helpful in so many situations, right? Nothing's set in stone. Things happen. We have to stay nimble, ready to shift, and be open to testing something new. I also want to give a big shout out to Brad Levitt, our favorite luxury builder out in Arizona. Jenny introduced me to Brad, and he has been on the show 5 times. Episodes 542, 560, 580, 615, and 649. All of this will be in the show notes, okay? If you're interested in Jenny's Design for Construction class, you might also want to take a listen to some of these episodes with Brad, because Brad takes it from that builder's perspective. And he really, if you're not convinced how important it is to show up organized to a Design for Construction project and the ways that that will benefit the builder and how you then can speak to the builder about your superpower, then just take a listen to these episodes. You will be convinced, okay? If you've missed them, they're very, very good and very helpful. All right, so LuAnn University fall semester starts the last week of October. Go to LuAnnUniversity.com, keeping in mind also that the Power Talk Friday Tour is coming up in High Point on October 15th. That's Friday, October 15th. We start at 8 o'clock in the morning. I'm talking 2021 if you are listening in the future. So very limited at the Power Talk Friday Tour. Maximum 15 designers. LuAnn University is virtual. We have the ability to have as many as want to come. But Power Talk Friday Tour is limited. I encourage you, go to powertalkfriday.com to see who the 5 experts I have. Well, I should say the 3 plus me and the Vincenz, okay? So the thing is, I want to say thank you so much. I want to tell you thank you so much. I really do, for showing up, right? For me, I appreciate it, but it's for you that you do it. And I acknowledge you and high five you for showing up every week and just looking for that one thing, that one idea, that one aha moment that can make your business different. But I'm going to really congratulate you when you share with me that you've taken the action on it, that you've completed it, and you've made the change in your business just the way Jenny has. Been, like I said, known her for 5.5 years now and have watched her learn, act, learn, act. This is the secret sauce. All right? Decide to be excellent. Thank you so much for joining me again today. This podcast is a production of WindowWorks, your resource for custom window treatments and awnings. To learn how we can help you on your next interior design project, go to www.windowworks-nj.com. And if you're interested in working with me on your business, either through masterminds or one-on-one coaching, or you want to know how to get my book, The Making of a Well-Designed Business, or you just want to know what's going on in the podcast land and where I'm going to be, all of that is found at LuAnnNigara.com. Thank you so much. Have an excellent day.